समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
If we are back to talking about Pakistan yet again this week, thank a man called Mohsin Naqvi for it. Remember Mohsin Naqvi? Many of us remember him from the Asia Cup trophy episode. That's when the Indian team refused to accept the trophy from him and he took the trophy home. It's still with him. He can declare himself the winner of Asia Cup. That besides, he's a serious figure who is powerful not because of anything that he has done in politics or that he's done in public life. That's because he's seen to be the factotum of Field Marshal Asim Munir. He is handpicked almost like the political son of Asim Munir. He used to be a journalist, in fact, CNN correspondent. We talked about him in detail in an earlier episode, of which I will share a link with you. From journalist, the army picked him up. That's how talent hunt takes place in Pakistan. You pick up somebody and install them in politics. That's what the army does, because army ultimately is what decides who rules, who doesn't rule, who stays free, who goes to jail, who gets rich, who gets pauperized, all of that. So he was picked up. He was made Chief Minister of the state of Punjab. Punjab in Pakistan is almost like 60% of Punjab. It's a lot of power and a lot of money. So he was made the Chief Minister of Punjab. He was also made the chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board. That is almost like the second most important job for a civilian in Pakistan, unless, of course, a general decides to take over PCB, because PCB is a very important job. Chief Minister of Punjab, chairman of PCB, and then he was inserted into national politics as Minister for Interior at a time, and we've talked about this in detail in the earlier episode. I will not go into all of that, when no party owned him up. So he did not belong to PPP, he did not belong to PML Noon, that is Pakistan Muslim League Noon, Nawaz Sharif's party. So neither PMLN nor PPP owned up to Mohsin Naqvi, but he was inserted as a senator and given this key position. If you draw the equivalence with the Indian system, then he will be a member of the Pakistani Cabinet Committee of Security. Not that that matters very much, because all that stuff is done by the GHQ there, not by the cabinet, but he got to the cabinet at that level, of the same level as, say, the External Affairs Minister, who is also the Deputy Prime Minister and a Sambandhi of Nawaz Sharif, and also Khawaja Asif, the Defense Minister. So he got there. Now, what has he done? On the 31st of July, he walked into, it looked like a regular speech to chambers, so chambers of commerce and industry, like we have FICCI and CII. He walked into one of those chamber meetings and addressed them for about 20 minutes or a little over 20 minutes. And it became a condemnation of the entire government and the system of which he is a part. He said a bunch of things, and I will list those for you in a minute. But basically, that made headlines all over Pakistan. It drew a lot of interest in India as well. And also, those countries of the world who have interest in Pakistan or who have stakes in Pakistan also immediately took notice of this. Because basically, the effect of what he said puts the elected government of Pakistan on notice. It puts them on notice by saying, you failed, you're good for nothing, and even if you try much harder, you cannot get any better. You cannot get any better for Pakistan. So something has to change, something's got to give. And in Pakistan, when the factotum, the chief factotum or the spokesman of the field marshal puts his own government on notice, it means only one thing. It means that the field marshal or the powers that be, the GHQ, they want either the elected government out, so they want to take over. It may be a hasty conclusion to draw right now, or maybe they want certain concessions from the elected government, and thereby they are delivering this message. At the extreme end, if I read the Pakistani media and I follow a lot of the people who speak on Pakistani TV channels and also YouTube platforms, at the extreme end, the interpretation is that basically the field marshal is getting impatient and he's saying, look, I'm the field marshal, all right, I've got immunity for life, but I've still got tenure that ends in 2030. So just think about it. In 2030, Munir would have been chief of everything he can survey in Pakistan for 8 years. Even then, he'll be 62, but in his tenure, he's already seeing the third Indian Army chief. And even if he goes home on November 29, 2030, which is most unlikely, it will not happen. Dictators in Pakistan cannot have a retirement plan, and he doesn't have one. Even if he goes home, he'd then have the fifth Indian Army chief by then. And he'd be thinking now, why would I go home at 62? And what will I do when I go home? So he's also planning his future now. And so at the extreme end of the interpretation, in the Pakistani circles, it's being seen as a message to Asif Zardari and to Shehbaz Sharif that maybe the political class should get together and invite Asim Munir to become the president of Pakistan now. So he can be president, he can be field marshal for life, with immunity for life, etc., running Army, Navy, Air Force and Strategic Forces Command at the same time, being the president. That's at the extreme end. At the most forgiving extreme, the other extreme, it is just that the army wants more money. They are not happy with the budget they have, and they know that the federal government, or what we call as central government in India, it doesn't have enough money, at least not enough surplus money. That's because in 2008, after Benazir Bhutto's assassination, when PPP and PML-N, PML, Noon, Pakistan Muslim League, Noon, they came together. Politicians sort of joined ranks because they said we have a common adversary, which is the army. At that point, army was very weak. That's the reason they carried out 26/11 attacks in India, so that they could they could build up paranoia over a threat of war from India and thereby again regain their prestige. It was in that period that PML-N and PPP got together. They got together, Asif Zardari became the president, and that is when together they passed the 18th Amendment to the Pakistani Constitution. 18th Amendment greatly devolved powers to the provinces, to the states. Pakistan has 4 provinces: Punjab, Sindh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. So they devolved a lot of the finances to the states, which was to be done through the National Finance Commission, just as we have the Finance Commission, through the National Finance Commission. And all the central revenues would then go to the federal government in a nationally divisible pool, which means money will go there. It will be divided or devolved to the states. There were also some funny things there, that states will get money also depending on the population they have. So in his speech, Mohsin Naqvi now says that the system is also so broken because the states are not curbing their population, they are actually driving up their population, because the more population they have, the more money they will get. However, the subtext is that the 18th Amendment also put education, health, etc. fully in control of the states. In India, it is still a concurrent subject, but the Pakistani system for health and education became even more federal or even more devolved than, say, India's system. So the army is impatient. This is the most liberal interpretation of what's happening. The army is impatient that, look, after all this money is given to the provinces, the federal government has nothing to give us. Otherwise, we could take anything from federal government, because the army needs money not just to buy their weapons and acquisitions, that they can do. Their defense budget just went up by almost 20% this year. That is not their issue. They want a lot of money which is not accounted for, and that is the money for, I'm using it loosely, that's the money for example, their jihadist activities, where India is the main target. Where do they get the money from? ISI in the budget will get money for its salaries and administrative expenses, but for all the mischief that it plays, the secret funds, that they need. And similarly, they need more money for their own welfare as well, because Pakistani army is the biggest oligarch. In fact, it's the only oligarch of Pakistan because they control almost every area of Pakistan's economy. In episode 1238 on 26th May 2023, we had spoken about the Cholistan project. Cholistan is a big, huge desert area, completely dry area in southern Punjab, bordering India and going up to the Indus River system. And Pakistani army had planned to acquire more than 1 million acres of land there. In fact, by some calculations, almost 2 to 3 million acres of land there under its Green Pakistan Initiative, GPI. GPI was going to be run by a private company fully owned by the Pakistani army. For all of that, Pakistani army needs the money. So if the federal government has more money, they can take away more of this. So that is the most liberal interpretation of what's happening. So once again, at this extreme, the interpretation is that this is the first move in a coup through legislature, that the elected MPs will remain, elected government will invite the field marshal to become president, to Awane Sadr, which is the presidency there, and he will take over and the National Assembly will endorse it. So it's all done peacefully. In fact, every coup in Pakistan is bloodless. It's all done peacefully, bloodlessly, but also it is done through a democratic institution. So Munir, as the new president, also has the democratic stamp that what can I do? The president of the country said, and the leaders of the elected leaders of the country said that, look, we are here, we are patriotic Pakistanis, we are doing our best for the country, but the country today has multiple threats. It has threats from the eastern borders, that is India, which is fake because India doesn't pose any threat to Pakistan. India is quite happy if Pakistanis stay out of our way. That I'm adding. Pakistani politicians are not saying. I am adding that, just by the way, sideways opinion. On the Western Front, we have trouble from Afghanistan and TTP. In this situation, this country needs stronger leadership, and Field Marshal Saab, who better than you to provide that leadership? तो हम आपके रास्ते से निकलते हैं. We are getting out of your way, and we are requesting you to come for the sake of the glory and survival of our country. Please come and take over the job of the president. That is one extreme. The other extreme is, this is basically the extortionist army now arm twisting the elected government to say that, listen, you guys can't even fight us because you don't even deserve to be there. We fixed the election for you. We banned the most popular party in the country, that is Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, from even contesting. We put their leader in jail. He's been in jail for 3 years and rotting, physically rotting. His body, his physique is rotting there. So we've done all this for you. We've installed you here, right? This is not power that you earned. So say thank you and give us a little more money, and you find a way of doing it because what you're doing right now is not working. Then there's an interpretation in the middle, and in the middle, it is just to say that, look, you guys are too centralized in the provinces, right? You're centralized at the federal level, that's a different thing, but you're too centralized in the provinces. Provinces have too much power, and we have too many provinces. So why can't we have more provinces? We can have 10 provinces, 6, 8. What happens is, if the provinces are then cut to size, say Punjab, which is 60% of Pakistan, if that's divided into 2 or 3, then the Sharif family may not have so much control, so much power in the country. And then you can deal with each one of these provinces or constituents differently. Similarly, if you carry out this experiment, then you can also divide Sindh. And if you divide Sindh, you can take Karachi out of it. And Karachi then becomes a federally administered territory like Islamabad is. Let me list for you a few highlights of what Mohsin Naqvi has said. Remember, once again, Mohsin Naqvi is only the physical being saying this. This is his master's voice. He's telling you what Munir wants conveyed to the political class. He said, number one, that the system has collapsed fully in the country. It is collapsed so badly that nobody can solve Pakistan's problem. He says, and he gives a sideways compliment to the Prime Minister. He says he works 12 hours a day, but he can work 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. This country's problems cannot be solved. After a decade, we will still be dealing with the same problems. This country, what he means is, ungovernable in the current system. That's my interpretation. Number two, he said this country can think about having new administrative units, which means abolishing the provinces and having a lot of district style units or divisions run by the bureaucracy and maybe elected local bodies. That's an experiment Pakistan has seen in the past. In 1955, Pakistan had declared this country to have only two provinces. All of West Pakistan was one province, Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which was then Northwest Frontier Province, Balochistan and Sindh, it was made one province, and East Pakistan was one province. That was to say that West Pakistan is the same size as East Pakistan, or maybe a little bit bigger, although that led to the growth of subnationalism in Pakistan and ultimately led to the division of the country because the East simply rebelled against this Western domination. So one option is to have smaller new administrative units. The other is to have more provinces. And he says, look at India. India started with 14 provinces, now they have 29. So why can't we have more provinces? A little problem there is that for any of this change to take place, you have to seek a vote, a two-thirds majority. You need a constitutional amendment, two-thirds majority in National Assembly, which is easy for Pakistani army to get. But you also have to get that in the Senate. And the Pakistani Senate is structured a little bit like the American Senate in the sense that every province there has the same number. So tiny Balochistan also has the same number of senators as the giant Punjab. And there might be a little problem there. In any case, it's messy to deal with so much politics. At the same time, in Pakistan, there is a great deal of speculation of what might be the 28th Amendment to the Constitution, which can make Munir the president. I don't know. You can do anything these days in Pakistan. Or it might break up the provinces. But for that, pushback will come from some parties. The PPP, for example, will really push back. They don't want Sindh broken up, because if Sindh is broken up, then they will lose control of Karachi. And if Karachi becomes a small province or a federally administered territory, then PPP cannot win elections there, because PPP's vote base is Sindhi. Karachi is now a very cosmopolitan city with a very large number of Muhajirs. That's the Urdu speakers who had gone from India, and MQM, Muhajir Qawmi Mahas, they are very strong there. The Islamic parties are very strong there. PTI also has a support base. So that vote will get divided. PPP can't win Karachi on its own. So they will resist. That's why one of the first pushbacks to Naqvi's speech has come from a very senior PPP leader, Nisar Khuro. Naqvi says the size of provinces is so large that it leads to centralization and people feel too far from it. And then he said, all of you go to Islamabad to resolve your problems. Islamabad is a very busy place. It can't resolve your issues. So you need decentralization, which means breaking things up. Then he said that everybody is increasing population. When Pakistan needs to reduce population or reduce the population growth rate, every province is actually working on increasing their population growth rate. That's not quite true, in fact. Since 1990, when Pakistan's total fertility rate was about 6.5, today it's at 3.5. It is still by far the highest in the subcontinent. It's higher than even the fastest growing state in India, which is Bihar. So Bihar is now about 2.8 total fertility rate. Pakistan is 3.5 total fertility rate. He says the states are doing this because they think by having more people, they will get a larger share of central revenue. Just for comparisons, I will tell you, because Pakistan has had such a high birth rate, Pakistan's average age is the lowest in the subcontinent. Pakistan's average age is just 21 years old. It's one of the youngest large states in the world. India's average age at this point is 29. Look at other countries in the neighborhood. Sri Lanka is 34 because they control their population. First of all, Bangladesh is 27. Even Nepal is 26. Pakistan has a population growing much faster than any other in the subcontinent. Then he says, unless you carry out structural governance reforms, which in Pakistan only means hand over power to us from the army, Pakistan's youth could also become cockroaches. He uses the Indian parallel. Pakistan's youth could become cockroaches, and they could come and attack the system and and destroy it from outside. Now, this has been interpreted by some people as meaning that the army or the establishment will unleash some cockroach movement on the elected government. I don't buy that. In fact, I see concern from many of the apologists of the Pakistani army saying this should not happen, because if it happens, once you have the cockroaches out, who knows, they might turn on to the institutions as well. In Pakistan now, the Pakistani commentary people don't say the army or the GHQ, they say the institutions. It's a bit like in our traditional families, women would not mention their husbands by name. In Pakistani commentary now, people don't call the army or GHQ by name. They say the institution or the institutions, Qaumi idare. But when they say institutions, what they mean is the army. Jaise, hamare wo, unko bol do. It's a bit like that. I'm not being facetious. And then he makes, towards the end, his most interesting statement. You can call it interesting. I would say it's pregnant with possibilities and probabilities, but probably more mischief than possibilities and probabilities. He says that there is one man who's going around the world getting fame for Pakistan, getting so much joy for Pakistan and so many favors for Pakistan, so many gains for Pakistan. Remember, he has done it all without crossing any red lines. What is the red line? Red line is just walking up the steps of Evan Sadr, the presidency. And then he says, all of you parties should get together. In about 6 months, you should be able to resolve these issues. So basically, the government in Pakistan has been put on notice for 6 months. It's a 6-month probation. That is the interpretation that I will buy. Now, this speech has drawn criticism or a pushback from many quarters. Khawaja Asif, the Defense Minister of Pakistan, remember, he's the one who said when pre-op Sindoor, when there was a lot of tension and everybody knew that some Indian action was inevitable, he's the one who recorded that video that said, if you want to shoot, shoot, don't talk, right? That guy. So he's come out and he's given TV interviews and he's saying, how can Mohsin Naqvi say that? Who's he? I haven't even seen him in National Parliament, National Assembly. He's hardly come in. First of all, he said he hasn't come in at all. Then he said maybe a couple of times. Maybe he's come a couple of times while I wasn't there. He doesn't even come for cabinet meetings. He's Interior Minister. There is so much terrorism. I've not seen this discussed in cabinet meetings. Maybe he goes and talks to the Prime Minister by himself. That pushback has come from him. The other pushback has come from Rana Sanaullah. Rana Sanaullah is a colorful character, also a senior leader of PML Noon, who's also pushed back saying, who's Naqvi, maybe what he's saying is just his personal opinion. We should leave it there. We should not take it more seriously than that. I told you PPP spoke through Nisar Khuro, its leader in Sindh, president of the party in Sindh, also a member of the National Senate. And then the strongest pushback has come from Maulana Fazlur Rahman. Maulana Fazlur Rahman is the head of Jamiyat Ulema Islam, JUI, the preeminent Islamist party in Pakistan. And he's spoken out in a very spirited speech in such chaste Urdu that I had to also use a dictionary to get the meanings of a few words right, and I will repeat them to you. He said, first of all, we respect everybody, the establishment, the bureaucracy, the politicians, the parties, and then protectors, and those who are quote unquote protectors of our borders and our politics and our economy. So it means the army. And he says, if those who call themselves protectors of our borders, politics and economy, if they sabotage the constitution and if they twist the laws of the land like mom ki naak, like I don't know how to translate it, like a nose made of wax, right? You can twist it any which way. If they sabotage the country's constitution and twist the laws like this, then I will tell them that you are responsible for taking the nation to the verge of destruction. And he says, I respect the forces and the institutions, which means the army, as I told you, but we will fight. We will fight, and when we fight, you will not be able to deal with us, because right now you're used to fighting criminals, because those who are in power right now, that is PMLN and PPP, they are criminals and they know they are criminals. That's the reason they cannot fight you. We are not like that. If you drag us into the fight, तो अपनी हलाकत कि आप जिम्मेवार होंगे. हलाकत is destruction of death. If you see some Urdu news bulletins, they'll say इतने लोग हलाक हुए, इतने टेररिस्ट हलाक हुए, इतने फौजी हलाक हुए. So he said अपनी हलाकत के आप जिम्मेवार होंगे. You will be responsible for your destruction. He says the country is being held hostage, obviously by the army. The country is being held hostage. आप भी उसमें फंसे हुए हो. अब तुम खुद भी फंस चुके हो. You've also got entangled in this mess. कौम भी महसूर है, which means the people feel besieged. अवाम रो रहे हैं. People are crying. And then you have somebody who says that I am so clean, pak, saaf, shafaq. Those are the words he used. I am so clean and so pure that a case cannot be filed against me for my entire life. That's a reference to Asim Munir. He said, you don't mess with us. We are loyal to Pakistan's constitution and laws. You don't try to sabotage that, because if you do that, you will be taking us on. So there is a pushback from all parties, but each one's pushback is a little bit limited. Maulana Saab's is the most direct. However, what Mohsin Naqvi has said sustains, because all of these objections will not matter. What he has done is he's given you a reading of Asim Munir's mind. Now this is something that's open to interpretation by everybody. I've given you the interpretations and conclusions from both extremes, but also the more mainstream view.